She placed 5 crumpled dollars on his table, her last money in the world, and what he left behind changed everything forever. That tip became $5,000, and a note she still reads every single day. This is a story of an immigrant waitress, Europe's most feared boss, and one act of kindness that proved humanity exists in the darkest places. November 2008. Frankfurt, Germany. A small Italian restaurant on the edge of the red light district. The kind of place where tourists don't go. Where locals eat cheap pasta after long shifts. Where the fluorescent lights buzz too loud and the coffee tastes like yesterday. Her name was Marta Kowalski, 23 years old. From a village outside Krakow, Poland, so small it doesn't show up on most maps. She'd been in Germany for exactly 3 months. Alone, no family, no friends, just her, a shared apartment with 5 other immigrants, and 2 jobs that barely kept her alive. They called an enforcer, Necati Arabaci, Europe's most feared nightclub owner, the man who controlled Frankfurt's red light district with an iron fist. But that night, he became something else entirely. Something nobody expected. Let me take you back to that November evening. To understand what happened, you need to understand her first. Marta worked 14 hours a day, every single day. Morning shift at a bakery, 5 a.m. to noon. Then straight to the restaurant, noon to midnight. No days off. No breaks longer than 10 minutes. Her feet ached so badly she'd stop feeling them. The kind of exhaustion that settles into your bones and never leaves. She spoke basic German, broken sentences, heavy accent, and people noticed. They always noticed. Some customers were patient. Most weren't. She'd been called slow, stupid, told to go back home at least once a week. But she smiled anyway, because that job, it was everything. Her rent was 2 weeks late. The landlord had called 3 times that week. Eviction notice coming any day. She hadn't eaten a real meal in 4 days. Bread, water, sometimes leftover pasta from the restaurant if the manager wasn't watching. Those $5 in her pocket were supposed to buy groceries for the entire week. Bread, maybe eggs if she was lucky. And her mother back in Poland needed surgery. Gallbladder. The pain was getting worse. Public hospital wait time, 8 months. Private surgery, 3,000 euros. Money Marta didn't have, would never have, not at this rate. If this story is already touching your heart, subscribe, because what happens next will restore your faith in humanity. Every night, Marta sent her mother the same text message. In Polish, "I'm okay, Mama. Don't worry. Money is coming." She'd been sending that text for 3 months. Her mother stopped believing it weeks ago. That Tuesday night started like every other. The restaurant was half empty. Cold November rain keeping people home. Marta was wiping down tables, her 3rd double shift that week. When they walked in, 6 men, all wearing dark coats, expensive watches, the kind of men who command silence just by existing. The manager's face went pale. He knew who they were. Everyone in Frankfurt knew. Necati Arabaci sat at the corner table, his usual spot, apparently. Marta didn't know that. Didn't know anything about him except he looked tired. Really tired. The kind of tired that comes from carrying weight nobody else can see. She approached their table with her notepad, hands shaking slightly. Not from fear. From exhaustion. From hunger. From everything piling up inside her chest that she couldn't name. "Good evening," she said in her broken German. "What can I bring you?" Most servers in that restaurant avoided Necati's table. Let the manager handle it. But Marta, she treated them like anyone else. Smiled genuinely. Made eye contact. Asked if they wanted recommendations. Brought extra bread without being asked. Refilled water glasses before they were empty. Small gestures. The kind most people overlook. But Necati noticed. He always noticed people others ignored. What he noticed next, most people would have missed completely. During dinner, Marta's phone buzzed. She glanced at it quickly. Her face changed. Just for a second. A flash of pain so raw it couldn't be hidden. Then the smile returned. Professional. Practice. But Necati had seen it. A text from her mother. The surgery wait time had increased. 10 months now, maybe longer. The bill came to 78 euros. Necati paid with a €100 note, told her to keep the change. 22 euros, more than she made in tips all week usually. Thank you, she said. Her voice cracked slightly. Thank you so much. She turned to leave, then stopped, reached into her apron pocket, pulled out 5 crumpled dollar bills. American currency someone had left weeks ago. She'd been carrying it, meaning to exchange it. Her emergency fund. $5, roughly 4 euros. She placed it on the table, on top of the bill tray, as an additional tip. Her last money in the world. For kindness, she said simply, then walked away before he could refuse. The same hands that once broke bones were about to change a life forever. Necati stared at those $5 for a long moment. His associates looked confused. One started to speak. Necati raised his hand. Silence. He called Marta back to the table, asked her name, where she was from, how long she'd been in Germany. She answered honestly, mentioned her mother casually, the surgery, the impossible timeline, not asking for help, just talking, like a human being who'd been invisible for 3 months suddenly being seen. Necati nodded, said something in German she didn't quite catch, something about strength, about dignity. Then he and his associates left. Normal goodbye, normal night, or so she thought. 30 minutes later, the manager found her in the kitchen. His face was strange, pale but excited, confused but smiling. Marta, he said, the corner table. Go look. She walked back to the dining room. Her legs felt heavy. Everything felt heavy lately. The table was empty, cleaned, but there, on the exact spot where she placed those $5, sat an envelope, thick, white, her name written on the front in neat handwriting. Inside that envelope, more than money, a message that would become her life philosophy. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment. Would you have noticed her struggle? Because what Necati did will surprise you. Marta opened the envelope with shaking hands. The manager stood behind her. 2 cooks had come out from the kitchen. Something in the air felt important. Heavy, like the moment before lightning strikes. Inside were 50 €100 notes. 5,000 euros. Counted. Neat. Real. She counted them 3 times. Hands trembling so badly, she kept losing track. Underneath the money, a note, handwritten, in German and broken English. The ink was slightly smudged, like he'd written it quickly. It said, You gave when you had nothing. Now you have something. Your mother's surgery. Your rent. Your life. Pay it forward one day. The world needs more people like you. Keep working hard. You'll make it. Call this number if you ever need help. But I don't think you will. You're stronger than you know. And nay, below the message, a phone number. Handwritten. Direct line. When she read those words, every server in that restaurant stopped working, just to watch her cry. Marta collapsed, not dramatically. Just her legs gave out. She sat on the floor, envelope clutched to her chest, and sobbed. The kind of crying that comes from months of holding everything inside, from sleeping hungry, from lying to her mother, from being invisible, from finally being seen. The manager helped her up, drove her home that night, made sure she got inside safely. The next morning, she wired 2,000 euros to Poland. Her mother's surgery was scheduled within the week. Private clinic. Best doctors. Recovery went perfectly. She paid 3 months of rent in advance. Bought groceries. Real food. Meat. Vegetables. Fruit. Things she'd forgotten existed. And she kept working. Both jobs. Because the note said keep working hard. So she did. 1 week later, she called the number. Her hands shook while dialing. Necati answered on the second ring. Hello, Marta, he said. His voice was surprisingly gentle, like a father talking to his daughter. They talked for 10 minutes. She thanked him, over and over. He stopped her. You don't thank someone for seeing what's already there, he said. You were kind when the world was cruel. You gave when you had nothing. That's not something you learn. That's who you are. Don't lose that. She promised she wouldn't. He told her to call if she ever needed anything. She never did, never needed to, because what he'd given her wasn't just money. It was belief in herself, in humanity, in the possibility that kindness gets repaid. And what she did with that lesson, nobody could have predicted. 7 years later, 2015, Marta was 30 years old. She'd worked her way up from waitress to assistant manager to partner. Bought into a small restaurant in Munich. Not fancy, family style. The kind of place where immigrants felt welcome, where broken German was okay, where people saw people, not just workers. She hired exclusively immigrants for the first 2 years. People like her, struggling, invisible, desperate for a chance. She paid above minimum wage, offered German lessons during slow hours, helped with paperwork, with housing, with being human in a country that often forgot they were. On her office wall, framed behind glass, hung an empty envelope and a handwritten note. The glass was always spotless. The note still completely readable. Pay it forward one day. Every year on November 15th, the anniversary of that night, Marta did something specific. She watched her servers all month, found the one working hardest, the one staying late, coming in early, the one who smiled through exhaustion, the one who reminded her of herself. And she left them an envelope, 500 euros, and a note that said, "You gave everything when you had nothing. Now you have something. Pay it forward one day. The world needs more people like you." She never signed it, never took credit, just left it on their locker or in their coat pocket, and watched them cry the same way she had cried, watched them call family back home, watched them breathe for the first time in months. One of those servers, a Syrian refugee named Amira, used the money to bring her daughter to Germany. The daughter is now studying medicine, top of her class. Another server, from Nigeria, paid off predatory debt, started his own food truck, employs 3 people. The chain continued. Each person Marta helped went on to help someone else, because that's what the note said. Pay it forward. And they did. In 2018, Marta tried to call Necati, to thank him again, to tell him what his kindness had created. The number was disconnected. She searched online, found out he'd been arrested years before, sentenced to 9 years for organized crime, released early, disappeared from public life completely. She wrote him a letter anyway, sent it to his last known address. Never got a response, but she kept the letter's copy in her desk, next to the original note, just in case. The letter said, "You saw me when I was invisible. You gave me more than money. You gave me proof that humanity exists everywhere, even in the darkest places. I've spent 7 years trying to be like you, noticing people others ignore, giving when it matters most, teaching kindness by example. Your 5,000 euros became 50 people's hope, became 500 meals for the hungry, became 5,000 small acts of generosity. The math doesn't work on paper, but kindness never does. Thank you for teaching me that the size of the gift doesn't matter. What matters is seeing the person. Thank you for seeing me. Forever grateful, Marta." This is why I tell these stories, to show that humanity exists in the darkest places, that the most unexpected people sometimes teach us the most important lessons. That $5 can change a world if it's given with a pure heart. And that kindness, real kindness, never dies. It multiplies. $5. That's all she had. And she gave it anyway. Not because she could afford to, but because kindness was all she knew. And sometimes that's exactly what the universe rewards. Not always with money, but always with meaning. Always with proof that we're not alone in this. That someone sees us. That our struggles matter. Marta still works at that restaurant in Munich. Still frames empty envelopes in her office. Still watches for the person who needs to be seen. And every November 15th, somewhere in that restaurant, someone's life changes. Because one man noticed, one woman gave, and the world became a little bit lighter. What's your story of paying it forward? Have you ever witnessed unexpected kindness? Have you been that person who gave everything when you had nothing? Share below. Let's inspire each other. Next week, the drug dealer who saved a police officer's family. You won't believe what happened next. Subscribe. Hit the bell. See you next week.